LinkedIn people. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. December is already here. This video is motivated by people who reach out to me and ask me to be their mentor in full stack. So I've just decided to do a demo for the if else function, and this is also going to show you guys how I go about approaching building stuff. So I've chosen to do a toggle button. I'll also put this video on YouTube. So this is our template. This is the HTML. So I'll start by using a div. So a div in HTML, it's an element. It's just a container. You see a box, it's just a container. So inside this box, I'm going to color it and design it the way I want to. So let's color it using Tailwindcss. So let's give it a width of 12, a height of 12, and a background color of sky, maybe 400. Expecting a corner there. Now I want this to give us a circle shape. So we're gonna do that. So now I want this circle to be inside another container, but this container is a button. You will learn the difference as you go, but this is just to do a quick demo. So I want the circle to be inside the button. So I'll also color and shape my button just so that the circle is inside. Okay, so let's give it a width of 30, a height of 20, a background color of gray. This is Tailwindcss. I also want this to be fully rounded, which is a circle. Nah, that's not how I want it to look. Width doesn't look like it's working. Okay. And then, excuse me, I'll just put this in the middle. So I'm gonna wrap everything inside another container, just so that I'm able to put it in the middle where everybody can see it. I'm using Tailwindcss. Flex, justify center. This is going to move our button to the horizontal center of the screen. Now, if we want to move it to the vertical and the horizontal center, we're gonna have to use flex screen so that the system knows and understands that we're looking at the height of the screen that we see. So it's gonna be height screen. Just quick, I don't want it to take long. And then we can now item center vertically. I expect this to be here. Oh no. Okay, expect it to be here. Nice. So now we just want to, when we click on this button, we want it to change its background color and also change the overall background color of the screen. We can also make it change the background color of this button. Okay, so what I'm going to do, let's check. It's just BG green 100. Nice, it's working. But I can't use green, guys. Gray better. Okay. So now I'm going to add a property in our Typescript or our TS file. I'll call it the current background, and I'll give this current background this value. Excuse me, put it inside codes, and then I want to bind this color. I want to bind this property. So for us to bind it, we have to add an import that works with binding properties or binding functions, whatever you may call it. So this is going to help us, or it's going to enable us to use a binding property. So we're going to use an ng class. They call it a directive that dynamically applies CSS classes dynamically. Okay, so you're gonna have it ng class equals to, so we're gonna call that current pg. We expect it to reflect now on our screen. Nice, you see it's gray. I hope that is visible. If not, we can just increase this, and then the background must also change. Nice, but that's not what I want. Okay, this is the same as the button. Nice. So now we have this as our background color. So we defined our default background color. Now we want to define our default circle background color. I want to give it the same background color that we have here. So we do not have to overwrite anything and create confusion. So we can give it this initial background color. Now what else? The position of the circle position. This is CSS to move items a little bit, to translate, to move items a little bit to the right, horizontally. One. Let's give it a, oh no, it won't do anything. I have to bind it to the circle so that the position of the circle can change and can be filtered. Let's give it a 2. So come here to my circle. This is my circle. I'm gonna bind this with class equal to this. So expect this to move a bit to the right, you see? Okay, circle position. Now we will also need to add the background here, although it won't make a change because circle bg, because we already have the bg, which is exactly the same as this one, and no conflicts. Again, remember the goal is to explore the if-else statement of the TypeScript, and for us to do that, we're going to also add a boolean property. We say if the button is toggled, what we're saying is toggled is equals to false. If the button is not toggled, okay, so we're going to add a function that when we click on this button, we want this circle to go to the right. And when it goes to the right, we want certain functions to be applied to our background, the circle background itself, and the position of the circle. So let's call it toggle button. Time it's not on this. Let's call it toggle button. Now we're going to say if, we're gonna call this boolean function. We're saying if our button is toggled, if our button is toggled, okay, hope I'm gonna be able to explain this a little bit clear. So we're saying this, we're saying it's toggled, it's false. Okay, it means it's not toggled. We're saying here in our function, if our is toggled function, okay, we're saying if our button, oh Father God, we're saying if our button is toggled, do the following. If our button is toggled, do the following. This to circle background equal to, what is this giving me? Oh, because this is not circle background. Okay, we're saying if our circle background, if this is toggled, then give the circle the background of black. Give the circle the background of black, bg black. Again, If this is toggled, move the circle to circle position. Move the circle by 12 pixels maybe. Translate X 12 if it's toggled, okay? And then change the background color to sky, BG sky 400. So for this to be able to work, you're gonna have to go and call this function in our template. Remember, we want to click the button. So this is where we're going to call the function. We're saying on click. When we click the button, we want the background. Let's check. We want the background color of the circle to be black. Remember, we've binded background color, circle background color, and the position. We also want the position of the circle to move 12 pixels or 12 whatever to the right, and we want the background of the screen of the to change to sky of 400. Let's see the initial. Okay, so that it's clear. Okay, so when I click this, I expect the following attributes to be applied, or the following styles to be applied. Nice. And then now we want to go back to our initial state. We want to go back to our initial state. So if I copy this is our initial styles. So I'm just gonna say else. We're saying if I want to toggle back, oh, this is because this one, I was surprised why the toggle is moving. Oh, wow. Okay, we want to say when we click again on this button, it should toggle, should go to the left and right, giving us different styles applied. So we're just gonna copy this because that is what, or that is our default state. Copy. I'm just gonna say this dot. That's how we call. Oh, why is this appearing? It's disturbing me. Okay. This dot. That is a way to call our properties inside our functions. Okay, let's do this. It's fine. Now, we're saying okay. To now we're saying please toggle this button left to right, true, false, true, false. Excuse me, this dot is toggled. I usually don't do these kind of videos. This is my first one. And now when I click this, I expect it to give us these styles. So when I click, I expect these styles, and when I click again, I expect the initial style. Nice. See, that is Typescript, and then I've used the if else function. Say if this is the case, do this. So it is still possible for us to do this with is toggle is true, and then you define your function based on your Boolean function. But yes, this is a motivation from everyone who has reached out to me, uh, asking me to be their mentor. This is just a front end thingy. This is normally on a navigation bar and other likes. Thank you. Enjoy the Friday. Cheers. Bye.